In a world of 350 billion movie podcasts, two chumps have decided that now is the time for cult movies to engage in combat. Disagreements will be had, blood may be spilled, and voiceover artists most definitely will not be paid. This is Cult Film Face-Off.
Hello and welcome to episode 65 of Cult Film Face-Off. My name is Chet Roivers, with me as usual is Nick Leonard.
That's some bad hat, Harry.
This episode we're going to be looking at two much-loved, big-budget sword and sorcery epics from the 1980s. Krull from 1983 versus Willow from 1988. Incidentally, thank you very much to Ben Stroud for this episode suggestion.
Big up your chest!
We will start off as usual with the first film to be released, which was Krull in 1983, directed by P.T.H. Krull. Okay. Krull, 1983, directed by P.T.H. With a motley group of heroes in tow, Prince Colwyn from the planet Krull sets off to rescue his beloved Princess Lissa from the clutches of a fearsome beast, Krull.
On a distant planet, a great kingdom was ravaged by beings who came from the future to conquer the universe. Now, the only survivors follow a doubtful seer and a throneless king.
They will hold her in the Black Fortress. You must have help.
Columbia Pictures presents a world apart from anything you have seen before. Krull.
Okay, Krull, I knew what this was. I was well aware of it. I'd never seen it before last week or a couple of weeks ago. What about you?
I'd never seen it, was very aware of it. The video cover.
Yeah.
I've seen it hundreds of times. Was always interested, but it just wasn't my vibe.
No, same here.
Back in the day.
I mean, it still isn't. This is not my kind of thing. I borrowed a friend's DVD because he likes the film quite a bit. And I looked at the back and I saw 2 hours and 2 minutes and I thought, oh Jesus Christ, this is going to be the worst experience of my life. This film is somehow completely overblown and half-baked at the same time. But when it started, I saw in the credits Stanford Sherman and I thought, why do I recognise that name? And I went on the IMDb and it's the writer of The Ice Pirates, and I was like, okay, that's a film I liked a hell of a lot more than I thought I was going to, so maybe we're in the same turf here. It opens very badly.
It opens with a great shit lookalike, though.
Oh, I missed that. What was that?
Straight off the bat.
Go on.
A few seconds, opening sequence. Strides into frame a purple-clad Russ Abbott.
Oh, really? Have you? I mean, it might have been Russ Abbott, right?
No.
To be honest, this is a festival of shit lookalikes. I mean, I think British thespians all look like each other.
It's a fest.
But I saw a Liam Cunningham lookalike, very uncanny lookalike. I saw about 5 Brian Cox lookalikes. Yes. There was a Charles Dance in there somewhere. I was like, there's like 5 British actors and everyone else is just a shit lookalike version of them. But yeah, the opening, it opens with, I have a complete aversion to Tolkien, and there's this kind of faux Shakespearean, faux Tolkien gibberish, and I was like, spare me, please. And then there's this shot of these alien soldiers sort of pumping their arms, like in victory. No enthusiasm, just robotically pumping their arms. And I just thought, it's a bunch of extras. The guy just said, pump your arms like you're excited.
Pump your arms, dears.
And they all just and it's hilariously badly done. And they're supposed to be celebrating, but it's just a bunch of guys sort of punching the air. I don't know whether to blame the director for that, because I think that it's the second unit stuff that's also pretty dodgy later on. But yeah, despite my complete aversion to Tolkien and anything inspired by his work, I am pretty certain I would have liked this as a kid, because I kind of liked it now. I really didn't mind this film at all.
There's something that's quite endearing about this, and as it was kind of rambling on, I was just like, it's got so much ambition, and it's so lavish,
totally,
that it's hard not to kind of get swept up in it a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
And the sets are done really well. I mean, that is sets that have been worked on, and there's tons of them. Yeah. So handcrafted sets goes a long way.
It's really unusual visual design as well. I mean, a lot of the locations, I mean, particularly the coiled caves where the princess is being held, it kind of looks like a seashell or like an alien's ear canal or something. It's like, I reckon all fantasy movies should look like this, which is kind of the dreamlike, very, very dreamlike, nightmarish, unusual.
So what do you think of the cast? Any standouts?
Okay, we have to talk about Ken Marshall, because it's been a while since I saw a lead actor looking that awkward in a leading role. I mean, he can't even play dead. There's a scene where he has to play dead, and I was like, I'm not buying that, sorry. But there appears to be a pendulum in his head swinging between unbelievable overacting and understatement to the point of like I can imagine. There's one actually. I think there's two pivotal scenes where I can imagine the director saying, "Does he? We're rolling, mate. This is a big scene. You know, we're going." And he's just so there's no emotion. I'm just like he's either one thing or the other. It's as if he doesn't know the cameras.
He must have just got the part on Good Looks Alone.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, he didn't really. I think he abandoned that.
Not leading man material.
No, for sure.
But I thought Freddie Jones was brilliant as the Ben Kenobi guiding Colwyn, and I also thought the Gang of Thieves, led by Alan Armstrong, was really good. You got Bobby Coltrane as an angry plumber.
That's right, yeah.
And a very young Liam Neeson.
That's right, yeah.
They were great.
Yeah, I mean, I think across the board it's actually pretty solid. But I mean, Ken Marshall just doesn't really belong. I mean, it's unfair to say that because you're talking about some top tier talent, really, even at that age. But yeah, he just looks awkward.
Yeah. I mean, it does revel in its own whimsy. And, Bernard Bresslaw as Cyclops. I can watch a fucking spin-off with Bernard Bresslaw as Cyclops all day long.
Yeah.
Perfect casting, and he injects like complete pathos.
Yeah,
right? I just want him to go, Sid!
It isn't obviously peppered with gags, and it doesn't seem like 3/4 of the budget was spent on cocaine, but I did enjoy this to a similar way to The Ice Pirates, in that, you know, I mean, if you scan reviews written at the time, the word that keeps coming up is incoherent, and boy, is it ever incoherent. It is an absolute mess. It's not a comedy, but it's kind of like a collection of sketches that aren't going for laughs.
There's nothing really ties it.
No, it's not.
Another set piece.
Exactly. And periodically, it's straight confusing, but it goes off on these weird tangents, and then it just goes back to being about a bunch of guys who were going to rescue a princess from a place called the Black Fortress. I was like, this is fine. I really didn't feel its incoherence didn't really bother me at all, to be perfectly honest. Although it is quite bloated. It's got that aimless quality that only big, expensive movies have. In that, like, for example, there's the spider scene.
Yeah.
That goes on forever.
Yeah.
It's not particularly dramatic, and it doesn't really have it. They could chop it right out.
No.
If that was in a film today, they'd say, "Okay, we're 2 hours. Let's lose the spider bit."
Yeah.
Also, there's the scene of them rounding up horses, and it goes on for ages, and you're like, "This is unnecessary. Just chop it out." It's so they're all begging for the cutting room floor. Those bits. The effects are all over the shop. Like complete. Some of them are really, really good, and some of them
really inconsistent.
Yeah, some of them look like. I bet if you looked up a Doctor Who from that era, it would be about on a par. So some of it's just unintentionally funny. But
Tucker Jenkins,
isn't that character from Grange Hill?
Yeah, played by Todd Carty.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Who had the never-ending story of having AIDS for like 20 years in EastEnders. Yeah. He is shit at horse rustling.
Okay,
for the video, 1 hour 27.
Okay, 1 hour 27. Okay, I'll look up. I mean, generally the choreography of stuff like that, especially the action, is just bad. So, you know, I mentioned the bit at the beginning with the guys just pumping the air. There's a scene in the opening action scene. Somebody's stabbed with a sword, and they might as well have been jabbed with a fork. And it seems like the second unit director, who I assume was responsible, wasn't paying attention to everything. Because honestly, there's a big stabbing. It's just like, it looks like they're filming a rehearsal. So some of that. Here's the thing I've completely forgot to say. The whole thing builds to him getting this shuriken thing, and you're like, right?
Yeah, because they push that on the cover, they push it on the back cover, they push that thing's going to be amazing.
And you're like, whoa, what's going to happen with it? Absolutely jack shit. That's the biggest anti-climax in the history of cinema. I couldn't believe it. You just wouldn't mention it.
No.
Or leave it off the cover. Yeah, that's really quite rubbish. The friend of mine who lent me the DVD...
Is he a big fan?
I mean, it's nostalgia primarily, but he does like it. But he said to me, beware of the most frustrating scene in cinema history. And I watched the film and I thought, I don't know what he's talking about. And he said, you know, before the end. I was like, I don't remember. Did this didn't stick out to you either?
No,
me neither. He said, you know the scene where they're in that room with the spikes? There's loads of gaps, so they could have contorted themselves out of the way and not died. And I was like, that didn't bother me. He was like, how could you? They could have just. There's no way they had to die. It's a completely needless scene. He hates that scene so much. He said he just fast forwards. And I'm like, I've seen so much of stuff like that in bad movies. It didn't bother me. Yeah, they could have just sort of laid flat or done something to just not get killed. But yeah,
the score's good. The score's worth mentioning. James Horner, romping score, that's really good. That's a plus.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, it is long. Make no bones about it.
No question.
It did feel long. I felt like I spent the whole afternoon watching it.
Yeah, definitely.
But I kind of got a bit swept up in it.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
I can see why people, watched it when they were kids, would buy it, buy a fucking 4K restoration, would buy it again.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, to my genuine surprise, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, my expectations were damn low because this isn't my genre, and I'd heard from people over the years that this is just rubbish.
Yeah.
a sort of Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, perfect. I can't believe I just said perfect, but I mean,
it's as bloated as an over-the-top roast dinner.
Yeah,
and it's just you sit there and you're just like, all right.
Yeah, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. But do you know what? It's just there's something.
It's very amiable.
Yeah, it is.
For want of a better word, I don't know. I just found it very amiable, even though it's long, it's a bit bloated. I mean, the acting goes a long way. There's some great British actors on screen, and the sets were great.
Yeah,
the music's great. You just get swept up in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
you can't hate on it.
Exactly, I don't think you can. I mean, I'm surprised that so many people hate it as much as they do. But yeah, I was. Every time it started to veer off track, it just got straight back to being a straight down the line sort of men on a mission movie. So yeah, I thought it was actually pretty enjoyable. Yeah. Okay, you got anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, all right. Well, in that case, let's move on to our second film, which is Willow from 1988, directed by Ron Howard. A young farmer named Willow Ufgood is tasked with saving a newborn baby who is rumoured to be an heir to the throne from the murderous clutches of the sadistic Queen Bavmorda. Willow.
From the creator of Star Wars. From the director of Cocoon. A world is awakening.
Why, with the strength of my great army, can you not find one little child?
It's a dangerous world. That's why we need your help.
Your journey has just begun.
Willow.
Okay, so Willow from 1988. Have you seen this one before?
Many times from my childhood. Yes. So I think when it first came out, I was really young when I saw it, and then it was on telly at a certain point, loads growing up.
Yeah. Did you see it at the cinema?
No, never saw the cinema.
Oh, I did.
You see the cinema?
Yeah, I saw it at the cinema. Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, everything worked. I thought Val Kilmer was the absolute don. Yeah. I was completely in love with Joanne Whalley, completely, and I thought the comedy was really, really funny. So it was a like complete win for me. And
how does it stand up?
Pretty well. I mean, I watched Kroll and Willow. I watched this immediately after Kroll, and immediately it's a better, more involving, more coherent, better directed, better written film. Like fucking immediately, it's a better film. It is nowhere near as interesting as Kroll, and it is great, aimed squarely at younger children. But in terms of old-fashioned craftsmanship, it's definitely superior. But when I say old-fashioned craftsmanship, what I mean is it militantly adheres to a formula, and that formula relies on absurd coincidences. I couldn't believe how many ridiculous coincidences. I mean, when they steal the baby and just drop it in front of me, I was like, make it, just do something more than this. So it relies on absurd coincidences. But do you know what? I mean, I think I still really thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the comedy, there's still some really good comedy in there, especially the Brownies.
Yeah, I mean when Kevin
really fucking funny when they're slashed.
But when he falls in love with that cat, I was like, totally. This is good. This is really good stuff. Also, when we first talked about doing this episode, you said a quote to me, and I just burst out laughing because it was the one quote that I think everybody remembers. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, out of my way, Peck.
I don't know why Peck is so funny. Just the Peck, because it's meant to be a horrible slur, but just Peck, just you picture. I don't know why Peck is so. But yeah,
there's morphing overload. I mean, Christ, it's
morphing.
Morphing, that special effect morphing.
Oh, of course,
animals morphing into other things, into humans. Yeah. It's just so much morphing.
It was absolutely
the
peak.
Thing.
Yeah, it was peak of that time.
I mean, there's not a lot that actually happens. There's really not a lot. There's a lot of incidents, and there's just set piece after just set piece after set piece. But there's not a lot that actually. It's very kind of straightforward in what he's doing. There's no side plots. There's no kind of
It's kind of like Kroll with all the rubbish removed. It's very, very...
It's much leaner than Kroll.
Yeah, and it's kind of... there is a lot of similarities. I mean, I did, after watching this after Kroll, I really appreciated how much humour there was. I really... That was like a...
For adults as well, though. It's quite... I mean, they're quite broad, the gags. Yeah. It's not sort of kidified.
No, I totally agree, yeah.
Some great performances as well. I mean, Jean Marsh as Bavmorda is the vicious evil queen. It's really on point. Yeah, she's really horrible.
I really remember as a kid just thinking she's the meanest bitch of all time.
Yeah.
And the action scenes in comparison to Kroll are a different level. There's actually the carriage chase in this.
The carriage chase is fucking great.
I thought it was worthy of a comparison with Spielberg because I mean, primarily because it's James Horner again, isn't it, doing the music? That reminded me a bit of Indiana Jones, and there's that truck chase in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but. Like I thought it was terrific.
Really well choreographed and cut.
Really terrific that scene. That scene actually. And Ron Howard is like Robert Zemeckis, so he's really good at selling sort of movie moments that some directors kind of undersell. I mean, even little bits, like there's the bit where Val Kilmer dodges a punch and someone else gets hit by it, and I thought they actually, like, Ron Howard clearly took the time to make sure that looked like it might actually be a real thing that happened in front of you. They're just those little moments that some directors sort of think we can, everybody knows this is just a bit of business and you don't have to actually make it look decent.
And I thought there's a lot of atmosphere being in the village as well. When you first get introduced to all the pecs. I mean, there's some great extra pecs in the background. There's a lot of gags to be mined from looking at what the extras are doing in those.
What? Because they're not great actors.
No.
I really like the romance in it, but he gets that dose of heartbreak potion or whatever it's called, and then he sort of turns into this lovesick puppy, and then she starts to fall for him and then gets annoyed when it wears off, and he's too chicken to pretend that he doesn't hate her and all that stuff. It's just like a bit more interesting than usual. Normally those two would have a very, very standard relationship, but that kind of made it more interesting. However, it's the most 80s thing of all time in that when they get together, she becomes his property and a prop. She is probably the most interesting character in the film, and then when they get together, she becomes
mute.
She doesn't even have any lines of dialogue. When they're planning the attack at the end, she's just kind of sat there making googly eyes at Val Kilmer, and she's literally a prop in the finale because those two witches are basically she gets thrown around while they're doing battle, and I was like, she was the most interesting character. I thought the battle was between her and her mum. Once Val Kilmer gets her, then she just becomes basically a prop. It's very, very weird. It's so 80s.
Yeah. Val Kilmer's very good.
He is very good.
Very good.
He's one of those people who was like persistently pretty great and then just went right off a cliff. The stunt work's really strong as well. There's a couple of scenes, particularly Warwick Davis. There's one bit where a coach speeds past him and he rolls out of the way of it, and it looks like if he'd have been a second later than that, he would have got trampled. I mean, obviously, I'm sure he wasn't in any danger, but there are loads of bits where the people look like they're genuinely. It's good stunt work. They should have found a way to end it after the siege at the castle with the big dragon thing, because the actual finale is kind of a whole bunch of nothing.
Bit of a damn squib.
Yeah, it doesn't. The first bit is way better.
Yeah, I think it aged surprisingly well.
It's definitely aged better than
Krull.
Krull, yeah, because that I mean, but that kind of made it feel that made it a little bit more charming. Whereas this was obviously this is George Lucas at the height of his, well, not the height of his powers at all, but the effects are absolutely first rate and. Yeah, I suppose that helps. The only annoyance of this film is that it's one of those script. Well, it's not really the script. I suppose you can't really blame the script, but there's so much of people shouting people's names. Migosh, Willow, McMardigan. They keep shouting, and I'm just like, please, you hear characters' names yelled throughout, and that just gets very irritating. It's a small thing, but I mean, it just bothered me. Okay, well, I haven't decided. I didn't decide it. Krull is aiming at an older crowd, I think, slightly older, and I'm much more likely to have a sort of animated conversation about it. Whereas this is just, it's you can't deny how well made it is, and I think Krull's more interesting. But which one would I watch? I'd rather watch Krull again. But then again, I've seen Willow many times.
Fuck out of Willow.
So have I. I mean, it's been a while, so it didn't feel stale to me watching it now. But But Krull's not the better film.
No, but it's certainly more inventive in its look.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a lot of things I like about Krull, as fucked up as it is.
It sort of chucks everything at the fucking wall a bit. Krull as well.
Sees what sticks.
You haven't got the nostalgia which Willow has, which you've got the attachment to Willow for the nostalgia.
Yes, there's something.
And it's got Val Kilmer, and it hasn't got that fucking tub of fucking vanilla ice cream.
Ken Marshall. In a way, this is basically a contest between high-end, top of the line Hollywood and a rickety British ramshackle attempt to try and make something. I don't know if it was English money that funded it, but it's the English through and through.
It's very English.
Yeah, and it's kind of as fucked up as that should be. So I can't vote for Krull, even though
Willow is the better film.
Krull
is way more interesting and enjoyable than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, if you remember it on video shop shelves from your youth, and you're thinking
it always looked shit.
It always did look, and to be honest, I think friends of mine said it was rubbish, but I was surprised. I
always avoided all those stuff like Dark Crystal, I just avoided the fuck out of it.
Yeah,
the only one I used to watch religiously as a kid, well, not religiously, I just enjoyed the fuck out of it whenever it was on. Was Excalibur? That's the only
Excalibur. Yeah, that's a different cast, though, isn't it? Yeah,
different gravy.
Like I said, I was surprised about how much I like Kroll, but I mean, the better film was Willow.
Yeah. Okay, some correspondence on Facebook. Jess Franco, just Willow. Aldo Ramazo goes for Willow as well over Kroll.
Yeah, you got him.
Andy Skase, Willow is a classic, but I so love Kroll. Big Bernard Bresslaw as a Cyclops, pure glass.
Yeah, totally true. I mean, I can understand that totally.
Paul Sutton, we know him well, the real cat lad.
The real cat lad, yeah.
I could watch Kroll all day long. Yeah, it has the worst boss fight in the history of boss fights.
Yeah, true that.
True. But the rest of the film is fantasy gold. The supporting cast is just a roll call of British greats, and there are some great action set pieces. A classic good versus evil story with love, sacrifice, friendship, and Todd Carty. Loved it as a kid and love it as an adult.
Yeah.
Just go make a cup of tea when he finds the dark one and imagine in your head it was more epic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the way to do it. That makes me because I genuinely enjoy Kroll. I mean, on that, when you think about it like that, it's just like some of the pieces are so appealing.
That boss fight is fucking right.
Yeah.
Talk about anticlimactic. Willow is a great movie too, and probably the one someone who was new to them both would prefer, as it's dated less.
Yeah, it's true.
Apart from the two-headed bridge monster that looks a bit naff.
Yeah.
Warwick Davis is a legend and carries the film.
He does. I mean,
yeah, he does. He's very enigmatic.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, well that's it. I mean, I do feel like sticking up for Kroll, but Willow it is. Willow is the winner. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Check out our social media accounts and all that stuff. Our videos are on YouTube, blah, 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 blah. We'll see you again. Take it easy.
Trouble.
Goodbye.
Cult film Face Off.
When I reviewed the behind-the-scenes footage for the making of Willow, I was immediately reminded of something that I ought to think about every day. But as time marches on, you tend to forget how much filmmaking has changed. Willow was a case of a movie with a big vision, a big creative appetite, and yet you look at the movie now, and cinematically, it's a little quaint, but at that time, it was everything that the medium had to offer audiences.